Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. Hope you're doing well out there. Remember, smash that subscribe button. Help us spread the gospel of drag racing. We surely appreciate it. It means the world to us, and it makes a huge difference. We got a hell of a show for you guys today. We're going to be joined by the one and only Jasmine Salinas here in about a half hour to talk about her titanic performance this past weekend at the NHRA Sonoma Nationals, the Denso Sonoma Nationals out in California, where she powered to a final round appearance alongside the Titanic, the Titan of Top Fuel right now, Doug Coletta. We are also going to check in with Keith Haney. They're just a couple of weeks away from Night of Fire at US 131 Motorsports Park in Michigan. Talk about the Midwest Drag Racing Series appearance at US 131. Excited to talk to Keith. And then we are going to round out the show with a wide-ranging conversation with a longtime friend of the pod, the one and only Elon Werner, who's got some breaking news for us. And we've got a lot to discuss with Elon. I like his take on things as somebody who really has his finger to the pulse of the sport. It's exciting times here. But before I get too far along, I want to introduce my co-host here on the Wes Buck Show, Mike Carpenter and JT Hudson. What's up, guys?
What up?
What up? I like your hat. Oh, dude, I should have my jersey on.
What?
I could turn it over. I got the coolest gift from Jimmy Dale in Poland.
Oh, really? You get your jersey?
Yeah, hold on. You guys hold it down for 2 seconds. Yeah, I get cool gifts. I get gifts. Hold it down 2 seconds. I'll hurry.
Yeah, look what I got from Max Naylor.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Shout out Max Naylor.
Got both of them. Got the Disturb.
The Jägermeister
and the
classic
Jägermeister.
Pro Stock cars.
Yep. I met my wife after Jägermeister. You know? I really did.
Hey, speaking of Jimmy Dale, did you see we wrapped? Well, we didn't wrap. The car was painted matte black, and then the Bumblebee car was matte black, and then we put the Dime branding on it to match their new look. Dime PSI hoses and fittings. They're actually located here in North Carolina now and sponsoring Jimmy Dale. So
that's cool.
You got to admit that was pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it was quick, man. Yeah.
Are you impressed?
Oh, did you leave?
Yeah.
No.
Didn't think so.
I teleported.
That's cool. That's cool. You get something. I'm still Jimmy Dale. If you're watching, I'm still waiting for my damn houndstooth hood.
I think they're still pissed off about you giving the little gangsters password out for the vote last year.
Oh yeah. Was that a thing?
Oh shit! I thought Jimmy Dale and I were gonna box over the deal, but check it.
I didn't. No. Oh, I know. That's nice. Oh, and yeah, we got. I don't know. We could probably drop the news right now that these two guys are going to be on the cover of the next issue of Drag Illustrated.
Yep. All it costs was a jersey.
We're like the official PR team for Jimmy Dale and Poland.
You like it?
I do like it.
It's sick. Big fan.
Yep.
Big fan. I think I really like the way baseball jerseys. You know what? That's what we could talk about. Don't you think drag racing needs a new uniform? Like starting line, apparel.
Yeah. Are you out on the sublimated crew shirt?
They're getting pretty tired, man. They're getting pretty tired. I was thinking about
a lot of people are in black, just black.
Yeah.
You don't see them as much anymore. I mean, it's just the NHRA stuff, really.
Hear me out on this, and this is not going to be well received. But I do think that this is an idea. Jason Sharp, longtime friend of ours here at Drag Illustrated, director of photography, still somewhat in spirit, I suppose. We were having a conversation. It's been many months ago. And it was right after wasn't there an incident on the starting line with a funny car body in the last year or so? Where was it at when somebody was either lifting the body up on the starting line or setting it back down and it whacked the throttle?
Yeah, it happened somewhere recently.
Yeah.
Brought back shades of Dickie Venables, but nowhere near.
Yes,
to that.
It was either early last year, wasn't it? Or maybe
I think so, right? And so anyways, Jason and I were talking, could it be justifiable that crew members on the starting line, especially around those nitro cars, are in fire suits?
Yeah, I mean, you see the pit crew for NASCAR, they wear.
They got the announcing team. The announcers are wearing fire suits.
The little motocross helmet style deal. I don't know, man. You would have a hard time getting buy-in on that for sure. I could see that.
I know. I'm just saying.
When stuff like that happens, you could definitely
the staging lane just melting.
Yeah. Well, you'd have them at half-mast, right? Yeah. You'd have them at half-mast, like, Erica Enders or whatever, with the sleeves a-dangling, But I don't know, like a 5-layer or whatever, like the base model suit, call up.
I'm out. Unless there's a shit ton more injuries or something, I think I'm out on that.
Well, I don't know, dude. Some part of me thinks that we need to lean into. We can't make this shit look so laissez-faire. Does that make sense? Like, I think sometimes we lack showmanship in that regard, almost. You know what I mean? Like, it needs to look like this needs to look sketchy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got bull riders wearing flak jackets and hockey masks. Like, I think that in some regards has detracted from bull riding.
Money, that's good. In the comments, someone says money.
I just think that it's kind of an interesting thing. Like, I want to see Maddie Gordon with an oxygen mask on before she gets in the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, hooked up to sensors. I want to see her heart rate. Like, sometimes I think we miss the opportunity to sell some of that shit, right? Like, because when you kind of look at it, you'd go jump in your car. Everybody's wearing T-shirts and shorts and Jordans or whatever. And
those crew guys, the crew guys that run back to get in the tow vehicle and start driving away, like before the car even stages, they rip those sublimated shirts off before they're off the starting line. Like, they can't even stand to wear that for a couple of minutes, man. Get the hell off.
I'm just saying that I think a conversation could be had about elevating the pageantry of what we do on the starting line. Right. I mean, I saw World Cup soccer players wearing like official sideline.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
What about Jeff Rudolph with Maverick or whatever the
I've never heard that guy complain about being hot,
Yeah. Yeah. Wearing the full pilot or aircraft carrier deal.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just saying sometimes I think we could.
I like that when he does that.
I do too. I love that, but that's what I'm talking about. That's the showmanship that I sometimes think we lack. Like, I'm not saying we need everybody in 20-layer fire suits. I'm just saying that I think sometimes we get in our own way. Like, we've got to dress some of this stuff up.
Dude, drag racing excels at getting in its own way. That's like what we're best at. Speaking of, man, how'd the reaction go to the whole IHRA discussion last week?
Oh, dude. I guess first and foremost, we should probably just say thank you. Like, that clip that we posted on social media and on YouTube, like, all that went viral. I think I've had, several hundred emails, texts, and phone calls about it. And we truly appreciate the support. Really, that type of support and that kind of reaction.
Even some asking for help.
Yeah. The response to that IHRA segment last week was overwhelming in a lot of ways.
It was, man. I mean, I knew we were going to get some feedback, but it was more than expected, I guess, for sure. I
don't take that for granted. Like, to me, it was a real reminder of what this platform represents. And I'm just grateful for it. Like, to me, I think that response tells me people care about this sport as much as we do, that warms my heart and that excites me. And like I said, we felt we owed it to the sport of drag racing and our audience specifically to talk about this and to dive. Fans deserve a straight read on where things stand. That's the DI, that's the Drag Illustrated job. And,
even before that, man, it's been a long time coming to get to that point. And there's been times we wanted to touch on it, wanted to talk about it, wanted to help guide some things or decisions or whatever. But you also felt like you don't want to get anyone's way or squash any optimism or enthusiasm. But it's something that needed to be said. I think a lot of people were saying, take away the personal experience that you had or we had or anybody. It was a much more general response of finally someone with a platform and with, knowledge of this and how these things work finally came out and told the truth. So, I think that's kind of what we always excel at as well. When the time is right, we're going to bring the truth. And I'm really proud that we did that again.
Yeah, myself as well. And I think the overall reminder and like the big takeaway from this is that like we've got to recognize as a sport and as a community, the NHRA situation is what it is, but the sport of drag racing isn't going anywhere. Like there is plenty of things to be excited about. And this is going to be a painful moment in time. I mean, my heart goes out to everybody that's been impacted by this. Like a lot of the things that are being reported right now are things that we're being made aware of, and we're hearing from racers and we're hearing from vendors and this, that, and the other. But, this too shall pass. And I do think that there will ultimately be a silver lining. I think that we're going to see a lot of racetrack sanctioned series events be maybe treated with a little more reverence than they have in the past. I think that sometimes these events, these people, these places, we become jaded. Perhaps, we begin to take these things for granted. So I think that, there's obviously still going to be people, and I still see it on social media. I've almost all but completely walked away from social because it's just been so negative. But it's like, I'm hoping that there's kind of a renewed appreciation for all the parts and pieces that it takes to make the sport of drag racing go round. Because we need racers, we need fans, but we need tracks, we need promoters, we need sanctions, we need series, we need all these things. And we've got to all do our part to support them all to the best of our ability. And I think there's a lot of people that are really, really, really trying hard to do great things in this space. And I wouldn't say that any of it's perfect. I think that we've got room for improvement. NHRA's got room for improvement. I mean, if you care about what you're doing, you should have room for improvement, right? That's the name of the game. I know that that's how we feel. We always want to be getting better and improving and, honing our craft. But at the same time, I do think our entire sport needs to kind of step back and look around at how far we have come, how far this sport has come. Look at some of the venues and the facilities that exist and some of the opportunities that exist for racers today. I mean, there's more opportunity to go drag racing in 2026 for most people than there has ever been.
Yeah.
Than there has ever been. And I think that that's an exciting thing. There's definitely some people and some groups of racers specifically that I think are going to, kind of be navigating some tough, some rough waters over the course of the next few months. But by and large, I truly believe our sport's in a good place. There's a lot of people that are doing amazing things, doing the hard work, investing the time, energy, and resources that are required to be successful in the sport of drag racing. And I'm pretty excited about it.
And it's not, you talk about rough waters, man. It's not just drag racing, boating.
True.
Stock car
rough
racing.
Waters. I saw what you did there.
I was trying. I was coming in right when he said rough waters.
Wow.
I held back.
It's choppy. It's choppy out here, dog.
It is. So, this is probably different than all the other times we've seen this kind of thing happen because it is affecting other motorsports as well. And I always wonder, is drag racing so susceptible to this kind of thing that it's just going to keep happening? And we're going to, anytime something like this comes in, because this has drawn comparisons to previous big splashes made by, entities coming in with big money, buying everything up, kind of upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. But it's not just us. It was these other forms of motorsports as well that were gobbled up or, maybe had a decent thing going and now find themselves in a completely different position. So this to me is probably the biggest of all of them. Like if you want to compare to some of these ones we've had that come around, it seems like every 10 years.
There's not anything, Michael, there's not anything on the planet of what has happened over the course of the last 2 years.
And we knew it would be the way it was building and the way these plans were laid out and the amount of money that was going to be thrown at all these things. There was no way that it couldn't be. And so I just think we should be glad that it didn't go any longer or further, because the longer and further it went, the worse the trail of damage was going to be. And it was going to be harder to recover. So I know that sounds crazy to say, but the fact that it was relatively quick is kind of merciful.
I agree completely.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I think that was one of the things that were kind of weighing heavily on me is it's like, okay, the longer this drags on, the longer, and, you know, and we've seen these things, right? Where a lot of times, you know, big, deep pockets or whatever, like they tend to linger, right? Like it may change shape, it may change level, but they tend to linger. And this, I mean, obviously this is a very, very, very bad ending to this whole deal, but I think you make a great point, Mike, that it's like, I think that there was those of us that were kind of knew the days were numbered, that this was not a sustainable deal. Let's get on the other side of it. And let's get back to the things that, you know, have either stood the test of time or show or demonstrate a roadmap to the future. And, you know, I see a comment here from Drag Racing Mayhem. Until current organizations serve all the needs, you're going to keep having it. If NHRA was where they're supposed to be, no one would even dare enter the market. I don't know that I don't know. Listen, I'm not here to say that the NHRA is perfect, but I don't know that you have to look much further than like this past weekend in Sonoma to see, you know, that they do have a lot of things going the right direction, you know, and I think a lot of people like to point at car count and participation, but, you know, the reality is that no one's ever held a gun to anyone's head and said, hey, you've got to run 365 at 340 or you're dead. Right? I mean, racers have kind of done this to themselves. Like Don Perdome said it so masterfully whenever the NHRA went from 1,320 feet to 1,000 feet. He goes, crew chiefs will just shorten the fuse. We're going to blow stuff up. They are habitual line steppers. Right? And I mean, I fancy myself one of those type of people.
You're not a top crew chief.
100%. I mean, in our sport, I mean, I don't know this for fact, but like when I look at the NHRA, I can't help but feel like part of their reason for keeping purses the way they are and trying to maintain that over the course of time and not letting them grow exponentially has been to try and curtail, you know, the excessive spending, because NHRA has never asked these people to go 340, right? There's never been a group conversation and it's like, let's go make 15,000 horsepower. Matter of fact, I think a lot of the conversations are about how to slow them down. And I think that we as a sport, right? We as a sport are really bad about, I mean, it's no different than like, I think testing before these big events is a problem because it really gives an upper hand to the teams that have the resources and time to go test extensively. And that is driving expenses up. I mean, I'm not trying, this is a little bit of, you know, self-deprecating, right? But I think you guys would agree the insanely close racing that we had at the Winter Series in 2025 and 26, no doubt a product of having the baddest sons of bitches on the planet, which is a flattering term. I saw somebody give me hell about using the phrase sons of bitches. I mean it endearingly. Sorry if that offends you, but these are the
bitches.
These are the baddest guys and gals on the planet Earth, right? These are the baddest dudes on the planet Earth. So you're going to get good
on this
racing.
Podcast also,
right?
I saw that.
Oh, I'm drinking a Cheech and Chong drink.
Yeah,
my dad stopped.
I saw several comments telling you to rein in your language on your podcast.
I didn't read any of them, but I mean, I try to read some of them, but then it becomes a whole thing. But anyways, my point is that those close fields, a field of 32 cars separated by 0.04 of a second, that is a product almost primarily of testing. You know what I'm saying? Like that is guys getting 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 shots at the track before
and if you don't
Q1.
Test, you're behind. And testing, I think, was that like once a year or whatever, or maybe at the start of the Winter Series was a thing. But then by the end of it, we were being told like, dude, we can't test anymore. We are tested out. We're wearing all of our stuff NHRA out and whatever.
Restricted
so it can become too much. Right?
I mean, NHRA for a while, I don't know that it still exists, but NHRA for a good bit had a ban on testing to 100%. Try to curtail escalating costs. And I see that happening in Pro Mod right now, where it's like every one of these events, whether it's PDRA, Midwest, I mean, all of these events feature at least one, if not 2 or 3 days of quote unquote pro testing. And the teams that are able to go do that, I mean, I think that if we took the World Series of Pro Mod and did away with testing, right, and brought the same group of 64 cars in, that 400 spread may have been 6 or 8. You know what I mean? And I think it opens the door for a guy who's having an off weekend, right? Or when a guy is really on it to make an impact or be a part of the conversation when otherwise maybe he wouldn't be. And I think about that a lot, like, because I know that in my mind, pro mod drag racing is like the highest level of grassroots drag racing, right? We do a lot of things at a pro level, but I see it as an outlaw brand of drag racing, a grassroots brand of drag racing.
That was another comment. You don't call pro mod grassroots.
Man, I find it to be very grassroots. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are super teams and there are teams that have, all the bells and whistles and the hired guns. But, there's a lot of these guys that drive their own trucks and trailers, right? Yeah. That set up their own awnings, that tune their own cars, that do it with volunteering,
It's not like it was, but I think
it came
the way
a long
you're
way.
Putting it,
it's came a long
saying
way.
It's the highest level of it, I think is the qualifier that you have to have for that. Because that's the only thing that even ties it to grassroots racing at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that this is something that we need to recognize, because we have teams in our space right now that if they're given 6 days to test, they will test for 6 days.
They have to. Look at even like PDRA, man, the testing on Thursday, you have to be there for that. If you're not there and you don't make a couple of shots on Thursday when the opportunity is available at the track in the conditions that you're going to be racing, you're behind. And so anytime you offer it, whether we could start testing 3 weeks before the event, people would be lining up to get in there and test for the full 3 weeks, right? Because it's like they can't give up any advantage that could be gained from that. And so you start to create this whole, someone said it earlier, racers are their own worst enemy. But, in that case, you're providing the platform for them to become their own worst enemy.
But I get it. And so, like, before anybody tells me that I don't understand how it works, like, I recognize that those are revenue streams for these racetracks, and they're revenue streams for these series. So I get that most all of these sanctions and series, especially like the regional sanctions and series, they could probably never turn their back on whatever significant amount of revenue that daily testing represents. I mean, you think about it. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, right? I mean, you test 100 cars on a Thursday and it's $300 a whack. That's $30,000. Like that's a pretty significant chunk of change. But I will tell you, through my own experience with World Series of Pro Mod this year, we lost Jimmy Taylor, one of the biggest stars in pro mod drag racing today, someone that I feel like super personally invested in, right? Jimmy's a dear friend and he's somebody that we've poured a lot of energy into. And we lost Jimmy Taylor on Monday of World Series of Pro Mod during testing in front of no one. And it's like, I know that crashes and cars are going to get torn up. It's the reality of what we do. This is a dangerous game we play. But at least if it would have happened during Q1 or Q2 or whatever, it would have been part of the story of the event. But instead, I've got one of our premier drivers loading their stuff up in their trailer on Monday, basically to not be a part of the story of the event. And to me, I would have happily foregone that 30,000, right? We don't get anyways, but my point is I would have happily foregone that day in testing revenue to have had Jimmy Taylor in my show. Yeah. Right. And so
he just set the internet on fire like a month before that, setting records and, everybody was looking forward to seeing what he could do in that field.
Right. Yeah. So for me, like, I think about it through that lens from a promoter's perspective. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it'd be like John Cena, rolling his ankle on Monday because he was doing, you can't see me, right?
You can't
John Cena, like getting injured during warm-ups. You know what I'm saying? Like
it happens, man.
It does, but you got to bubble wrap these guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's why John Harbaugh or whatever or whichever Harbaugh it was so spun out by Cam doing the backflip on stage the other day
and falling down.
It's like, dude, don't get hurt during a freaking concert, right? Like we can't have you get hurt again while you're not even on the football field and playing games for us. So I guess I just think that this testing thing has largely spiraled out of control. I think there's a time and place for it, but I think about some of the teams that are running businesses through the week, man, it's a real challenge for them, to be able to come in. I mean, how many true 10.5 cars did we lose at World Series this year during testing? I mean, I think it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, we were worried we were going to not have a field by the time the testing was done, because this is the nature of those cars too.
Yeah. So anyways, I do think that that's a discussion that this sport's going to have again. But what it does is it puts the onus on these track promoters and track operators and series and sanction officials to promote a show. Like, where our sport has gone awry is we have started focusing too much on the back gate, the racer gate as far as a revenue stream and not enough on the ticket gate. We need to be selling tickets, right? We need to be selling sponsorships. We need to be bringing energy and bringing people to these events that may otherwise not be there. The racer base, like obviously we want them to be invested and they can pay their fair share and all those things, right? We've talked about that before, but I don't think it needs to be like the central focus of how an event exists. And, you know, some of these promoters, you know, and some of these guys that fancy themselves promoters are going to have to get busy. Right? I mean, you can sell tickets to a drag race, but you're surely not going to do it by posting on your Facebook a couple of times a day for a few weeks leading up to the event. I mean,
AI
it's
flyer, man. That's hot right now, dude. All you got to do is have an AI flyer and you're good to go.
Awful.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of my opinion.
I don't know. In this day and age, everything is, I mean, everybody's busy. There's a ton of shit to do. People travel. The TV coverage and live feeds have never been better. Until you get that show shortened up, I don't know that you'll be able to sell that ticket to someone that's going to go set for 3 days or go out Saturday night and not even see an elimination round, you know, like, oh, we're still watching qualifying. You know what I mean? I don't know. You've got to shorten that show up somehow. That's a good point,
JT. And even NHRA has done that with their shows, their events. If you look at their qualifying days, and a lot of times what they get down to where they're just running final for sportsman cars, and then it's just pro eliminations on Sunday. So they're making efforts to tune up their schedule a little bit so that it's not so long for the fans that want to come and see the show, the pro show, of the program.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, man. But I do think, like, if I have my druthers, we will do away with testing at our events moving forward. You know, like, it's just, to me, I don't see it as something that is beneficial to what we're doing. I can make a case for like a single shakedown, you know, like, hey, let's go make sure it idles. Let's go make sure it idles. Let's go make sure it idles. Let's go make sure
they're going to go test somewhere else anyway.
They're going to go test somewhere else regardless. And you know what? The teams that can, they should, but they should not be testing on the racetrack that they're going to be racing on in a few days. So anyways, it's interesting times here in the drag racing world. But I tell you guys, we got a huge guest in the green room. I'm super excited. But before I dive into that, let me take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of Stroud Safety. 100% made in America, 100% built for racers. From drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and ballistic blankets, Stroud Safety has been the standard in racing safety equipment for decades. Tommy Cunningham and his team don't cut corners. They build gear that saves lives. If you're serious about safety, there's one call to make. Check them out at StroudSafety.com. Tell them Wes sent you. Guys, what a weekend for this young lady. It's been a hot minute since we've had her on the show. I'm excited to hear from her. Let's give it up for the one and only Jasmine Salinas.
What's up, Jasmine?
What's up, Jasmine? I assume you're still out west, which I guess is kind of close to home for you. You kind of got the classic hotel backdrop. So thank you for taking some time to chat with us. Congratulations on a hell of a weekend.
Thank you. It was such a wild weekend. Everyone's asking me. So they're like, are you still like living in it? Are you still like, and I was like, honestly, I think I'm still processing what happened. Like from like the semifinals on, I think like they're trying to do interviews with me and I'm still kind of like, did that all really happen? So it's been a pretty wild past few days.
And I feel like the whole sport has been kind of cheering you on, right? Like, I think there's been a rally, and I hope you feel that, Jasmine, because I think that we've seen it. Like, you've been on the cover of the magazine, you've been a part of our 30 under 30 stuff, like, and we've seen the reaction to it, right? And we've seen how people tend to gravitate, and it's that enthusiasm, it's that authentic enthusiasm. It's not manufactured. We can tell this isn't stuff that you practice in front of a mirror, right? This is just Jasmine pouring her heart out every time someone points a camera at her. And I think all of us knew this was possible, but like the reality, and now granted, I wish, nothing against Doug Coletta. We love Doug Coletta too, but like, I wish we were here talking about, how much wine you drank from that whatever goblet. But just being in an NHRA Top Fuel final round, I mean, I think it's safe to say that that is undoubtedly the highest level of drag racing. Like, can you just, go really catching your stride, then taking time off, then coming back on a part-time thing, doing some IHRA, this has got to feel a little surreal.
Oh, absolutely. It's I feel like my journey in Top Fuel has been such a roller coaster. And I have been very fortunate that a lot of my racing career up until Top Fuel has been, a pretty consistent, uphill road. And Top Fuel happened for me in the most wild way possible, getting my debut with my dad stepping out for medical reasons. And then ever since then, it's just been up, down, up, down. But I think because of that journey not necessarily being so straightforward and direct and easy, it's made me really appreciative of the journey and the struggles. And what we did on Sunday in Sonoma, I've been saying that I still feel like, we accomplished a lot, and in like the most humble and grateful way, I still feel like, we're losers. We didn't win the race. I'm always a strong believer that if you didn't win the race, if you weren't first, then you're last, like everybody else. But at the same time, Ricky Bobby, 100%. But at the same time, I'm still not going to deny and not be ungrateful for, what we did that day. There were so many people, and, me being one of them, I know what it's like to sit there and wish just to be able to go rounds. And so, I think what we accomplished was a huge step in the right direction. And it's something that the past 2 years since we've been a part-time team, we've really had to, adjust from being a fully funded full-time team with a lot of people kind of, supporting us on the crew side, to now only having 3 full-time employees and, myself then kind of, figuring out how do we still keep this operation going with a very, very limited budget, and how do we find all the crew guys to come in and still make this work. And it's been such a challenge, in addition to just trying to get out there and have the car perform the way it does at the level that we need it to. And I think, we're getting really close. I think Sonoma was such a huge moment. And I've heard from so many people, that I don't think they've had doubts in us, because I think they know what the car's capable of. I'm still racing my dad's car. That was the first car to go 300 to the 8th mile. So what we have, all of our parts and equipment that we have the top tier stuff. We have everything, because that's where all of our money is going into the parts, is going into flying out the best guys out there. So we're not blowing our stuff up every single race. So we have the right program. It's just getting me that laps and those seat time. And, I think we're kind of getting there. And I think people are starting to now kind of see our program come together and really see that, Scrappers Racing is getting back to where we used to be.
It's, I'm sure, as challenging as it has been. I almost, obviously I don't wish, nobody wants their story. I mean, really, I saw this somewhere recently. Maybe it was a YouTube video. I'm a big motivational, inspirational. I was some probably hype video I was watching to get myself fired up. But it was talking about, do you really want your story to be that, we came in, we dominated, it was easy, everything was paid for, we had all that? No, that's not the story you want. You want the story of that story. The interesting story is that one of my dear friends, Dr. Ron Burgess, he told me one time, Wes, you have to measure everything in life by story value. And I think and I say it a lot because it's true, whether we're going through good times or bad, what a great story this is going to be to tell someday. And I think for Jasmine Salinas, having the story of, not having it all handed to you, not having it all be automatic, having to scrap, no pun intended, but it came pretty easy there. That, to me, that's an amazing thing. And the fact that you're still here, and what I'm probably the most inspired by, I had goosebumps while you were talking, that it's you can sense the fire in your belly to do this. You do not seem at all deterred from, and I'm sure you're riding the high, but I saw it, every time I've seen you on camera in the last 6 months, let's say, that fire, I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah. We saw that a ton on the Chasing Speed documentary. I really think that was a coming out moment for you, and your, vulnerability, your personality, your, like Wes is saying, your fire for this. It's got to be tough to know that you have all this top tier equipment and this car can run like this, but yet you have to run a partial schedule. Is that
part-time team, full-time energy, quote of the weekend from Adam.
Yeah, exactly. But that's got to be a little bit it's like you're a caged animal or something. You've got the stuff that when you're out there, you can compete at the highest level, but yet you got to you're at home when these guys are racing the rest of the schedule. What's that like, and how do you kind of navigate that part of it?
Having to sit at home or on the starting line and watch everybody else do this, it's challenging. And, there's so many other drivers that are going through it, that have gone through this same experience. But I think for me, it's, I'm very grateful, for how the shift in my career professionally has gone. Because, like you said, I'm very fortunate where, my dad pretty much, in a sense, handed over the keys to the operation and told me to figure out how to keep making it going. So, that alone right there is a huge step forward. And, not a lot of people have all, own their own team. So the fact that we have that is a huge step in the right direction, and something that does help me get a little further in what I'm trying to accomplish. But at the same time, like you said, I think if everything was just handed over and it happened so easily, like, I don't really know I'd like to think that I'd be as appreciative of it, but the fact that I've, had so many tastes of being so close and then having it just taken away and then having to sit there and watch, it makes me so humble and grateful, so that when I am out there, I am so present and so in the moment and really just enjoying it. Because especially watching my dad, where he never expected to step out of the driver's seat. And that was, this is what he's always wanted to do since he was a kid, and having to watch him have to step out, against, pretty much against his will, in a sense, like he didn't want to. And it was so hard and challenging for him. And I saw how much it hurt for him. And that's why he didn't come to the track for a long time, up until honestly, probably Sonoma, just because it hurts to kind of sit on the outside and watch people do something that you really love. And so having this gratitude of, knowing that whenever I am in the car, I don't know when I get to get in the car again sometimes, this year, at least I know I have a little bit more consistent schedule coming up. But I just think it's, I've watched drivers where, they've been very fortunate to be kind of on the outside, but still in the sport, watching other drivers where they had the multi, 10, 15, 20 years contracts. And then the next day, they're gone. And I've seen that and grown up watching that happen. And so I think trying to be in this balanced presence of being grateful in the moment, but then also knowing like, this is never going to last forever. This is going to end for all of us one day, eventually, whether it's at our choice or, not. But I think just trying to stay present helps me kind of get, through all of the negatives and downs, because I won't lie and say like, yeah, I'm really positive and happy, especially coming out of Sonoma. But there's definitely a lot of times where I'm, sitting in bed till 2 a.m. wide awake, just wondering, was this the right decision? Did I gave up a great job I had, a design firm in San Francisco. I left my entire family behind, as did so many other drivers leaving their families behind to come over and, move to Indiana and chase their dreams. Did I do all of this? Was all of this worth it? The sacrifices, not seeing friends, losing out on, watching my nephews grow up, and all of these things where I'm like lying in bed. I was like, is this worth it? Is this going to happen? Like, are my dreams going to happen? Or did I just like get so close to a dream and then it just never happened? And I think just trying to not all let that get into my head sometimes, staying grounded and positive and just grateful when the opportunity does arrive definitely helps kind of tone everything down.
Well, and it's, and I mean, and I'm not here to like life coach you, but I do think that like, even as something Mike and I have experienced, is it's like a big part of that dream is the journey you're on right now, right? Like, there's probably never, I mean, we can call Doug Coletta and he wants to win another championship. He's not satisfied, right? He doesn't feel fulfilled. Ron Capps, we can call any of these people. I venture to say we could dial up John Force right now and he would tell you that he wants to win one more. Like, just to really put it over the top, I'd like to have won 18 championships or whatever, right? And so I think it sounds to me like you're really basking in this. I love hearing you say that you're present in these moments. And I'm sure like when you start to question yourself, I mean, it had to feel like maybe you got a little bit of an answer. I heard this secondhand, so I hope it's accurate. But from what I was told, like throughout the course of Sunday, it went from like on Sunday morning, you've got your core group. And then as other teams are being eliminated, all these other people are coming over to lend a hand and make sure that you guys make these tight TV turnarounds. Like, I guess that's accurate, correct? Like, tell me, that had to be pretty validating, Jasmine, that you see this community rally around you like that. And when their day had ended and you're still rocking and rolling, fixing to go rounds on Sunday, they were there to support you.
Yeah. I'm hoping everybody got permission, so I won't be saying names, but there were people,
we won't name names.
So many other teams that came out, not only just to help us turn around, the race car, but even at the end of the day, they helped us tear down our own pit after they tear down their pits. And for me, I'm just so grateful for that. We had CJ Daniels, who used to be on our team. He retired and he was just out, with his sister watching out for the weekend, just being a fan. He ended up throwing on his old polo and he came in and he jumped in and helped us. And, we had people from our hospitality who were coming in and helping us doing things. My parents were packing parachutes. It was such an incredible experience just to watch. And then somebody showed me a video. I know Daniel Wilkerson had just ran right before us, so I know that there was a bunch of Skag people, but somebody showed me a video and a photo kind of all the people on the starting line in the final round against me and Doug, and it was just cool to see the crowd on my side. Because, I've stood on, the backside of somebody's lane so many times, watching them, waiting for them to get their first win, watching them, hoping they'd win, and to see a bunch of people show up and do that. Whether it's for me or they just wanted to be on the right side, either way, I'll take it. But it just 100%. Really meant a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we notice those things too, Jasmine. Like we watch it, that's what we look for, and it's like because we feel like that's where the story is, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, the story of this was that you had. I mean, I say this a lot, but I think it's important to reiterate that few people truly understand just how difficult this is, right? Like to go 4 rounds in Top Fuel on Sunday. Like you're splitting hairs, you are fighting every imaginable thing. And like the performance of your hot rod, like you ran great all weekend. I loved looking at your lights, not only consistent, but improved throughout the day, really stepped it up in the final 056. I mean, you have to be very proud of like, that's a competitor. You're a contender. A performance like that tells me that Jasmine Salinas is a contender out here. And I hope you feel that way. I'm curious, like we talk about sellouts. NHRA had a sellout crowd 3 days in a row. The place was pandemonium out there, looked great on camera. When you think about this through the business lens and the team owner lens, like, do you feel like the things are in place for you to secure that funding? Like, are you optimistic? I mean, what's kind of the lay of the land for an independent team owner such as yourself right now, fighting this battle?
Yes. So I would say the challenge to find sponsorship is, it's hard regardless of whether, you're already a well-established team or whether you're somebody just trying to come out or you're somebody in the middle like us. Our team specifically, we don't have a full-time person where their job is just to go find sponsorship, unlike a lot of the other full-time bigger teams out there where they have somebody that's their job. They're doing all the proposals, doing all the pitching, bringing all the potential sponsors out, hosting them, giving them the whole spiel. We don't have anybody. I'm doing that, and I don't have any background. So I've been learning these past 2 years how to put down the sponsorship decks, how to reach out to people, how to kind of schedule the meetings. A lot of other drivers, who kind of aren't associated with the bigger teams, that's a lot of what we do behind the scenes in our day-to-day jobs away from the track. But, I think this weekend with the fans there and just being at my home track was so special and so cool. The energy, and I think, I'm so glad that I had my first final appearance at Sonoma. Like the amount of people, family, friends, people I didn't even know. I heard that, I guess we'd been going to the same Starbucks, and apparently there was a barista from Starbucks that had been working there, and every single morning we were stopping there. He ended up coming to the race because he was so excited because he just saw so many people racing. And he ended up coming over and we gave him some hearts and stuff. But it's just little stories like that we're hearing, just people in the area who didn't know that about NHRA drag racing. They heard about it, but they wanted to come out and see it, and then they got hooked. The amount of people where, they said they were from where I went to high school, from where my parents were from, lived down the street from us, grew up, like they watched me when I was a kid. I'm like, I don't even remember. And they're like, we saw you running around at Sacramento and Bakersfield. And to see them all want to come out this weekend to come support our family and our team, that meant such a huge deal. And so, I'm hoping that the performance that we had in Sonoma this weekend can help kind of push a little more the narrative of what we've been trying to get out to other brands and give us a little more visibility. I have a really great PR team this year. But, I think the biggest challenge is really just trying to get out to the track and show other brands and partners what we're able to do.
I think I literally had a call with somebody yesterday, and I was like, I don't think there's anything more valuable you can do than get people out to the races, right? Like if you can get them there, and I'll tell you, Jasmine, I know you don't want to do all that work yourself, but there's nobody that's going to sell it like you do. Right. Yeah, there's no one that's going to sell what you're doing the way that you do. And so I think that sometimes that's one of those things that probably feels like a problem, but it might be the answer. Actually, you just got to get in front of the right person, because you get in front of the right people and you're going to have all the support you could possibly want. It's just a matter of time, in our opinion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shoot holes in all the people that have, sales and marketing specialist or whatever, but I'm telling you, when you have someone like yourself, charismatic, enthusiastic, authentic. That's a magic bullet, and you can drive a race car quite clearly. So tell us, like, looking forward, I mean, we know that, like I said earlier, Adam Cave with the quote of the weekend: part-time team, full-time energy. I love that. I've been saying it all week. What's the game plan moving forward? I mean, do you have, where are we headed next? Like, I'm sure there's an even more significant desire to continue this momentum.
Yes. So we were running the hybrid IHRA NHRA schedule, and the plan was to chase the championship in IHRA. So we kind of had all of that set up as far as our crew coming out with all the parts and pieces ready to go. So now that that series has been canceled for the rest of the year, we're planning to take all of this, the parts and all the people, and then schedule and basically go over to NHRA full-time, which has been my ultimate full-time goal, honestly, is to get back into NHRA. So we're planning to come back for the US Nationals. We're trying to add Rockingham. I believe Dallas is also on the schedule. This year, it's kind of been, everything just really like last minute, like a week or two before is when we kind of make the final decision. But we know we've got everything ready to go. It's really just kind of the flow of money and making sure that we can do it. Doing back-to-back is a little challenging, but we're already over here on the West Coast. So, we might as well check off Seattle. Then I'm kind of manifesting and putting it out there. I'm hoping that I say it enough that it'll finally happen, and that Adam and Todd will be like, okay, but I want to do Vegas and Pomona, and just like go through all the parts and pieces, blow all the money, let's just get it over with, and just go to finish off the year strong with those two races.
That sounds fantastic, and I think that makes total sense. The sport needs,
that's basically a full schedule, right? Minus what, like St. Louis or a couple in there. I mean,
you can't miss
DFW.
You can't miss the Stampede of Speed, right? Like I think the Stampede of Speed has quickly established itself as like one of the circle on the calendar events for NHRA. Obviously, the U.S. Nationals goes without saying, the granddaddy of them all. But yeah, I mean, and those are great opportunities where a lot of decision makers are there. A lot of people that have significant involvement in the sport are looking to get involved in the sport. I think those are the places they look, right? So I think that's very wise. And you have done a great job of like being as visible as you possibly can. You mentioned your PR team, like Allison McCormick and Jessica Hatcher, like you've got it in spades there. Like they do a fantastic job. And not to mention what you guys do on social. I'm curious, like you do a great job on your social. You're very candid. You're always posting reels and like sharing behind the scenes stuff and personal life stuff. Is that just your youth and knowing that's kind of the way of the world in 2026? Or do you feel like an obligation to do that for your fans? Because you have a legit fan base at this point.
I think it's something that when I first kind of started doing social media on the racing side, and I was trying to figure out, what's my angle? Like, what am I doing? Am I just going to keep reposting all the same videos that everybody does? And there was a couple videos where I kind of just started like being very transparent about some of the struggles that I was having, mental health challenges, what it was like trying to show up at the track, and, the ups and downs and the highs and lows, my life behind the scenes. And what I found really early on, when I really started kind of trying to understand the social media side, was that people, they love the race cars, they think it's cool, but they couldn't connect with them. But a lot of people were able to connect with, the fact that I have a dog, the fact that, these are like my favorite like snacks I like or whatever, the mental health challenges, the amount of people that I've had come up at the track, where they've shared that their children or they themselves, were having these ups and downs. It really kind of made me realize that being able to share that human element, like that's what people really love. And when I kind of look at, if I don't know much about sports, but if there's athletes or celebrities or other people where I'm looking up to and I like them, it's because I found something in them that I can kind of connect and see myself with or relate to. And so I've tried to maintain that approach in an authentic way as best as possible. And, I'm introverted and shy, but at the same time, I feel like building up this community that I have where they are very supportive and understanding and want to know more and share about, their struggles and their life as well and their highs and lows. I think it kind of creates this really little safe space in a sense of, being able to open up and share who you are in a way that I probably might not do it if I was just standing on the street and I just walked up to the stranger,
Right.
But I think racing's the platform, but what I've done through the platform, being able to connect with others, I think it's made it a lot easier for me to want to share and open up my stories with people.
Real knows real, right? I mean, I think that your realness is it's magnetic in a lot of ways, right? That you're saying what you feel. You're sharing your battles. I mean, I don't want to, pressure on you to talk about these things, but I do think that is, I got to tell you, like, I'm going to get deep here, right? But like alcoholism and depression, this shit is like prevalent in our sport. You know what I mean? And listen, we're all here for a good time, right? No, I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just saying, like, I know as someone who's been doing this for 20 years, I can't tell you the number of people that I've seen that we've lost to suicide, that we've lost to alcoholism, that we've seen marriages ruined, people trying to seek some sort of validation that unfortunately drag racing is not going to give you very often.
It's not the most healthy environment. Really. I mean, it's not. It's so competitive. It's so cutthroat. It's
let
so
alone
strenuous.
being a young woman in a wildly, I mean, I talk all the time about how diverse our sport is, and it's something I'm personally really proud of. But the reality is that this is a whole bunch of burly dudes for the most part. You know what I mean? And, I can't imagine how much the increased challenge that would represent for someone such as yourself, Jasmine.
Yeah, it's been a unique journey. I'm very fortunate. I've had my sister also kind of getting to go through and navigate this together with her. But yeah, I mean, like you said, that there's so many things where I'd opened up really early on about some of my past struggles with depression. And at first I was kind of like, ooh, like maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that was oversharing too much. But the amount of people that, they kind of suddenly realized, like, they'd never spoken up about it or talked about it until, they'd shared that they'd heard my story about it. I think it was kind of a big aha moment that everyone's going through something. Everybody's going through something. There's something in their lives, like whatever you see in the photos, on my social media, you look at it and you're probably like, wow, that's great. That's awesome. There's so much going on.
The
but
highlight reel. That's what I say.
That's all it is.
Social media is just a highlight reel.
Yeah. And there's so much going on. And so I try to, really just like let people know, like, hey, like this is my curated, like, best of me version. Like I try to like share the best of me. Sometimes I try to hide it too, because like I don't think a lot of people want to see that. But I think it's just like this comfort level of just letting people know, like, hey, like, it doesn't matter what's going on. And I think I always kind of think of just when I was younger and when I was a fan of the sport, before my dad even started racing in Top Fuel, I looked at, these drivers as these big superheroes. And I was like, these people are, fearless. Nobody can hurt them. No, they can take on the world. And then as my dad started racing with them, and then I had the privilege of getting to know them as the human level, like for me, that was like, whoa, like, and it was this massive shift in my head of like, these people, they're doing incredible things, but they're still people at the end of the day. And I still have people coming up to me, like, they're incredible. I can never do what you do. And I was like, no, like, trust me, like, I'm nobody, I'm the, like, probably one of the smallest people out here in the sport. I have, my highs and low days. I'm so shy. I'm so nervous. There's a lot of like self-confidence things. And I was like, and despite all that, I'm still doing this. So if I can do this, you can do that too. And I feel like that's always kind of try to be the narrative that I try to share with other people and push out there.
I appreciate it. Like, definitely not something I'm super comfortable talking about, but like I have a deep, history of depression, and I struggle with at times debilitating anxiety. And whenever I tell people that, they're like, what, you do? You know what I mean? But it's been a part of my life since I was a teenager, and I've had anxiety attacks and panic attacks and all these things over the years. And I'm proud that I've like learned to manage it. And I've done what needed. I've done the work, right? And I continue to do the work. That's one thing that I think people don't know, is that it's not something that you ever just like whip one day. You know what I mean? Like, well, whipped it, on to the next thing. It's a constant work in progress. But and I think some people are like hesitant to talk about it because there's no doubt that we're blessed to get to do what we do, right? Like there's no doubt that we're a lucky people. I know that. I am grateful, but it's all relative, right? And we're all, and as you said, everybody's fighting a battle to some of their own, and none of them are less important than another. Like just because you're not putting out a blazing inferno doesn't mean that whatever you're facing today is not significant in your life, right? And so I applaud it. I think it's something that needs to be talked about more frequently, because we lost a person in the sport of drag racing earlier this year. There's been a lot of these things that I think about, and I see some of the marriages dissolve, and I see some of the alcohol issues, and I see some of those things that happen, and I'm like, man, we got to care about each other a little bit more, right? We got to like, stick a hand out or get an arm around somebody every once in a while, because there's some people out here in this space that need a little love and need a little support, because you know, and honestly, it's the reason we do all the crazy shit that we do. Like, you know, the DI 30 under 30, like that's become this huge, like, admittedly, Mike, I mean, am I wrong? It's probably like the hardest thing we do, right?
Well, we're on the Power 100 right now, and that's proven to be about as difficult. But yeah, anytime you're making these lists, it's no fun because the value of the list is it being so selective. But yeah, you've got so many great candidates that you know could benefit from it that aren't going to make it. So it is.
Why do we do it? It's to shine a light on somebody, to give someone a pat on the back that they're probably not going to get otherwise. Drag racing is a sport that you're going to lose a lot more than you win, no matter how good you are. No matter how good you are, you're going to lose a lot. You're going to take a lot of L's in this sport. So we have felt an obligation or a responsibility, perhaps is how I would phrase it, to like encourage people, like, hey, someone cares. Someone notices that you moved across the country and uprooted your family and did all these things, chasing the drag racing dream. And we recognize that you're making progress, and it's minuscule in the grand scheme of things. I recognize that as well. But that's something that's near and dear our hearts, is like, again, like Mike said, the Power 100, we cooked this up going, how can we celebrate these people more? Like, what can we do to pat more people on the back, to touch more lives, to encourage someone to keep going, or tell them good job, right? To make sure that they feel recognized for, you know, a lot of people in this sport, like some of the most accomplished people. And I was thinking about it as I was going through my candidates for the Power 100. It's like, I don't know that a lot of drag racers or drag racing fans could point most of these people out of the crowd. But our sport likely wouldn't exist without them. You know, and like that was heavy on me. Like, oh my God, we've got to do something about this. So we appreciate you being candid about it, because I think it's, you know, I think about all these young kids that are doing what you're doing, right? Coming out of juniors or coming from a, you know, sportsman, big car racing and whatnot, and like going, I want to become a professional drag racer. Like, it's a tough road to hoe. Like this is a rough one, right? But it is possible, and there are people that are caring, and there are people that will cheer you on along the way. Because we've got to support this next generation. I look at Top Fuel, Funny Car right now, and I'm pretty excited, to be honest. Like, I think about yourself, Matty Gordon. I feel like Matt Hagan has really come into his own as a star. Jordan Vandergriff, like we're, you know, Austin Prock. Like, we kind of got somebody who's completely leaning into being a heel or a villain, you know, totally comfortable if that's what people want to paint him as. And I'm going, you know, the stars and moon are aligning here. Like, if we can keep the people in these cars that we need in them, we're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for the nitro categories. I mean, honestly, all the categories, NHRA, but, you know, especially in Funny Car and Top Fuel, where, you know, maybe the car counts haven't been what they've seen in the past. And so I think having these new fresh faces and fresh energies, and, you know, I always kind of hear people being like, oh, you know, this is the next, like, you know, so-and-so, but it's like, no, it's like everybody's their own person. Like, let these like new personalities show up. We don't need another, you know, first of all, you can't replace, you know, any of the past drivers, because like
there's not going to be another Shirley Muldowney, right? Exactly. And Jasmine doesn't want to be the next Shirley Muldowney. Yeah,
like, I don't want to be the next, as much as I love Brittany Force, I'm not trying to be the next Brittany Force. I'm going to be the first Jasmine Salinas. And that's what I want. And I hope, you know, like Austin Prock and, you know, Maddie Gordon at such a young, you know, age, I hope that all of them, you know, you can kind of see them doing it in their own, like, they're paving their own path and they're doing it, and they're not sticking to, you know, the narratives that's kind of being placed on them. And I think that right there is already kind of making me feel like, no, this place is going, you know, in a further direction than, you know, I think a lot of people could have even envisioned for the sport.
Well, I got to tell you, Jasmine, I think that you have as solid of a jumping off spot right now as anybody has ever had. The sport of drag racing is cheering you on. I promise you. We can't wait to see you this coming weekend in Seattle. Makes a lot of sense, right? Got to keep them guys on the road. Let's just stay out west. Right. Yep. Let's just stay out here, by God.
It's the mini swing, the mini Western swing,
the mini Western swing. And we're excited to see where this goes. I mean, you've clearly got a car. I mean, tell us real quick about this team, because I know it's a little bit piecemeal, you know, like you got some fly, and you've got some, you know, your tried and true folks, but let's give some credit to the team that put together a car that went 75, 77, 77. I mean, you made some really good runs this weekend.
Yeah, and I think it was in Q2 and E2 and E3 where my foot was coming off of the gas a little bit. So we weren't making full pulls on those runs either. So, I mean, that car they've got it dialed in.
So what are we going to do? Duct tape your foot down? Talk us about that. What are we going to do to fix that, Jasmine?
So after the semis, I had my dad, and we were trying to figure out, because we have the poured seats, and I got a little chunky this year. So we right before the race this weekend, I had Cole kind of take the hammer and kind of like hammer in the backside. Well, we ended up losing an inch. So I think that kind of was pulling my foot a little bit off, because it happened 2 times. The first time I was like, maybe I was lifted. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm pretty good at knowing when I lift. But then we saw it twice on the computer and pretty much the exact same spots on the run. So I was like, okay, something's happening. It's definitely my foot's coming out a bit, but I know I'm not lifting. So we added this little like makeshift padding where my dad got towels, and we like duct taped a little like pad, and then we put it in the back. So we were like both climbing in my race car as everyone's trying to like tear the motor apart. And that seemed to work in the final because my foot didn't come off. But it's I'm so proud of the group of guys that we have coming out with us every time we're racing this year, because I told them at the end of this race, I was like, look, I know you all wanted to win, and I'm like, I'm disappointed too. Like, you either win or you don't. And I'm like, but what we did this weekend was still incredible, because there are people where this is their full-time job, is to work on these race cars. All of you guys have full-time jobs that aren't with racing. You have your full-time jobs, then you take your time off and you come and race with us this weekend. And, you could have a free weekend at home with your family, your wife and children, or relaxing or going to the lake. And you're spending it here killing yourselves, on our race car, trying to help that we go rounds. And you guys are this weekend, I was like, they outworked a lot of the full-time guys where they're getting paid to do this full-time. And I'm like, yes, we had a bunch of people coming in and still helping us turn around the car. But I'm like, you guys did a really solid job. And I hope you guys all know, that you guys outworked a lot of great people and a lot of great teams out here. So if we can keep going this, and, a big thing too that I was so happy about was, everybody on my team, when I got back to the pit after we lost in the final, they were upset. They were like, we wanted the trophy. And I was like, great. I'm like, I don't want anybody here that's coming out with us, just happy and, be like, oh, that's awesome. They're great. And just walking away with just second best. Like, nobody that's working with us is happy about being second best. We either want to be first or, we're not satisfied. And having the same group of people that all have the same mindset, I think that's what's really helping us kind of go through, all the different people flying in and out.
If you don't have a panther or whatever the hell that was, and a bobcat and me on the side of your Top Fuel dragster at Indy, I'm gonna be pissed off, Jasmine.
Jasmine,
like
Bobby.
It's Jasmine Bobby from here on out. Like that, you if we're not first, we're last. I love it, and you are.
But when you get that taste, though, this team, though, I mean, anytime you're that underdog, partial roll or whatever, you get that taste. You go to the finals, you want it, because you don't know. With this crew that's part-time with you, when they might be back, your first win, they want to have it happen while they're there. So maybe it'll go from first runner-up to first time in the winner's circle this weekend in Seattle.
That's what we're shooting for.
Well, go kick them in the ass, Jasmine. We appreciate you. Best of luck. Thank you for spending some time this afternoon with us, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Anytime.
Jasmine.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Bye.
All right, guys, let me take a quick second and remind you that every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Jerry Bickle Race Cars, the foundation of fast. For decades, JBRC has set the standard in Pro Mod chassis. Now, with Rick Horde and the team carrying the tradition forward, they're not just preserving a legacy, they're building on it. Every day, from rolling chassis to race-ready components, if you're serious about going fast, your journey starts at Jerry Bickle Race Cars. Engineering first, proven on the track, built to win. Learn more at jerrybickle.com. That's jerrybickle.com. Guys, Michael, JT, what an interview. Did Jasmine just give us a barn burner? Like, I think we just had ourselves a barn burner.
Yeah.
We knew she would, man. It's been long overdue to have her on the show. And she'll get that winner. She'll be in the winner's circle soon with the way that car runs.
Man. She may make a... Tell you what, like you said, you get a taste and you start to feel that monkey coming off your back and you've kind of broken through and it, because that is a valuable experience. Just those 4 rounds on Sunday, so few teams experience that. And just having been in that fire before, I would not want to bet. I would wonder what the betting odds are going to be for old Jasmine headed into this weekend in Seattle.
Probably not up yet. I'll look though.
I don't know. Yeah, they're not up. We get an email every week with like the top odds, but I don't know about where she'll be.
Well,
not allowed to bet. We're members of the media.
Oh yeah. I'm not allowed to bet. I don't bet. Mike and JT, y'all are big sports bettors, but I'm just not very good at it.
Nobody's good at it. You just
Okay.
do it anyway.
Okay, fair
Gambling
enough.
money has no home, Wes. You
That's
got
right, man.
to figure that out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
I
can't be
did do
good
some
at it.
gambling in Vegas. I went last time I went out there. But Mike knows, like, I like to play blackjack and slot machines. That's about as good as it gets for me.
Yeah,
I'm usually
we
pretty
hit
good at
some
it.
slots this weekend.
We're hitting some slots this weekend. There ain't no doubt about it. Hey guys, we've got a big guest in the green room right now, and we did this strategically. We had a conversation in our team meeting earlier this week. We go, all right. I said I want to get Haney on, and they go,
No, I think it went more like, man, we're totally out of guests. And we don't have anybody to bring on.
shit.
Like, who can we bring on as default?
No, let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly what happened.
I'm
I
looking at
told the
Keith's
whole
reaction.
team.
I was trying to get a reaction out of Keith in the green room.
I told the whole team. I said I want to have Haney on, and they all go, no, we can't do it. We can't do it. And I was like, no, it really means a lot to me. No, I'm just joking. I said I wanted to have Keith on, but we didn't want to wait till next week because he may get, private plane may be low on fuel, so he may have to take a commercial flight. So he may not be able, I don't want him to get caught up in baggage claim or some shit and not be able to come on the show. I said, let's do it this week. So there's no excuse that he's going to be here. He's going to make it. He's going to be in his office. He's going to be selling Chevys, and we'll be able to get it. He may be on a yacht in Miami right now. Let's bring him on, ladies and gentlemen, our dear friend of ours here at Drag Illustrated, Keith Haney.
What's up, Keith?
What's up, everybody? What's happening out there?
Not much.
Swinging and ducking, dog. You know how we do it around here, buddy. We're fired up for you. We're headed into kind of a return after a little bit of a mid-season break for the Midwest Drag Racing Series. Always love to see you guys be a part of US 131's big Night of Fire. We all know that this is a massively well-attended event. It's a great opportunity to put, the stars of the Midwest Pro Mod Drag Racing Series in front of this huge crowd, be a part of this show. I believe they've got Nitro Chaos involved this year, all sorts of stuff going on. Just tell us, man. I mean, how fired up are you to get back behind the wheel and get on the road to the next 30, or I said 30 under 30, the next Midwest Drag Racing Series event?
Well, for me personally, it's been months. I tried to find my earbuds, but I couldn't. But it's been a few minutes since I've been in a race car, and I've been playing a little bit, boating and enjoying life and taking a little time off and doing stuff with my kids. And I think getting back in the race car, I'm kind of, I don't know how you say it, really, really anxious. But I think more than anything, I'm just kind of excited for drag racing at its current moment. With all the bad that's been going on, and I don't call it bad, it just is what it is. At the end of the day, we are all going to push forward, whether it be other racetracks or myself or other series. It just is what it is. And the Northern Nationals has always had an amazing crowd. We always had the September race. So they always did 2 Nitro shows, one in August and then one in September. Well, then NHRA, of course, they moved to an NHRA track. NHRA kind of takes that national date on September, which was always our date. And PDRA had moved away from the Northern Nationals, which was their biggest race of the year last year. And spectator-wise, let me rephrase that, spectator-wise. And they moved, they ended up moving somewhere else. So us coming to the Northern Nationals is no different than what we were before. Other than the Northern Nationals got Funny Car Chaos. And just what a great show that's going to put on. You got Top Fuel cars coming. You got Scott Palmer coming and running Top Fuel cars. And I think Howard, what's the other Top Fuel guy that runs NHRA? Lost his thumb.
Sean Reed.
Sean Reed. They got a match. I think him and Palmer's got a match racing. They've got a lot of nostalgic cars that are running that deal. All Nitro, pretty much everything's Nitro. So front engine dragsters to Top Fuel cars going down the racetrack. So it's always been their big event. Well, we're bringing, and I'll be proud to, I hope I don't stick my foot in my mouth right now, but I mean, we have 30 committed pro mods coming to Martin, Michigan. And
congratulations, Keith.
Thank you.
A big. We've talked about that here on this show recently, but people, I think expectations have been skewed. Like a 30 car pro mod show is absolutely badass. In August in Michigan, a 30-car Pro Mod show is as legit as it gets, man. You've got it. I'm happy for you. I'm very proud of you.
You know, and I owe it more to the racers. You know, they continue to believe in us. If you look, you know, in May, our last race that we had the throwdown, and then we had Martin, Michigan. Both Martin, Michigan had 31 cars. 29 ended up competing. And that was with Donald Long and the Shakedown, and what a great one that was. Tulsa was good. And this one's looking like it's going to be the exact same way. Top and Top's getting extra money. The racetrack put 1,000 on top of Top and Top, and then put 2,000 on top of Pro Mod Slammers. And if anybody know what that is, I mean, it's still going to pay. I think I calculated it earlier. If you have, if 16 cars show up at 250, or I think I had 15 cars that showed up at 250, and then 2,000 on tops, 5750, and 50% of that goes to the winner.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, I love a second chance race. I think it's important, like as much money as everybody's spending at this point in time, that it's important to make sure everybody gets to be a part of the show. I'm curious, obviously big news, you know, the last few weeks, this whole situation with the NHRA seemingly going away, or at least, you know, by all accounts, canceling their endeavors moving forward. There was something of an outcry for an outlaw, you know, kind of no rules pro mod class. Yourself, the Midwest Drag Racing Series, answered the call, and it looks to me, can you share with us, like, what kind of interest has that been? How did that whole deal come to be? Because, you know, I think I've told you this on the phone earlier today, Keith, that it's like I struggle sometimes to wrap my head around it, because I know we've seen this movie play out before, but there are a slew of these guys that have purpose-built, no weight, lightweight, you know, super,
well, they're building
unlimited pro mod cars, and there are more of them being built.
Yeah.
So it's important that there's a place for them to go. How did this whole Midwest Ads Outlaw Pro Mod, you know, kind of come to be?
Well, you know, part owner of KB Titan, the Pro Stock team, who started a Pro Mod team. That we made an announcement earlier in the year that, or at the end of last year at NHRA stage at SEMA, if you remember, we announced that we were going to start a program, Pro Mod program of that. I have 5 cars being built on my own camp. I have 2 for NHRA legal quarter-mile cars that will be Jerry Bickle race cars. I have 3 quarter-max cars, 2 of them being outlaw cars. Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and announce it. So I got another nitrous car, and then I have a screw car, and I have a Pro Charger car, and I have, you know, clients that want to race those. So it was kind of all playing the same field. IHRA looked good. I never went and ran it. I stayed committed to my word. I'm not going to get into bashing anybody or doing anything, because at the end of the day, it's the most horrible thing for drag racing I think has happened. If it stays the way it is, or what's happening right now. So with that happening, all the guys I had an outlaw car being built for that class. And next thing you know, I had everybody calling me. I mean, it was just like, hey, what from Mount Motor Pro Stock called me. And so Clyde called me and said, hey, what do you think? And Clyde's the outlaw guy, you know, and but I've got some other guys that are outlaw guys too. And anyway, they all called me, and I said, you know what, if y'all can help me raise some money for the class, I'll consider it. We talked a little bit more, and Clyde said, you know what, I'll handle my track, and I'll help you get funding for the Tulsa race. And these guys, you know, people that come on board, and I can tell you right now, people are really enjoying, for the ones that I've talked to, the big teams have an outlaw car and a legal car, both. And they love being able to run for 2 purses at the same time, cost them the same money to get there, you know. So that's how it kind of come about. Clyde kind of asked me, Bubba Stanton, you know, I can name all of them. And Midwest, if you look at the races that were performed over in IHRA, most of them were Midwest racers that were the Pro Extreme guys.
Yeah.
And some of the, now there was a lot of new guys that were building cars for that class, no different than I am. I'm talking millions of dollars were spent on the IHRA's outlaw class.
Yeah,
Millions
I
of
talked to a dude Monday who told me that he just spent $500,000 building a purpose-built outlaw pro mod, like a lightweight deal to go try to run 40s or 30s even.
Does that surprise you, Wes, after kind of what we've seen play out over and over, as you said earlier, with outlaw?
I think it's crazy.
Or Radio versus the World, something that has no rules. What the relatively short lifespan that we see out of those, or is it just?
I do believe that
a different take on it.
I do believe that if they can't go in the 40s, I'm sorry, but 50 to 50. I mean, we've had guys go 53. Okay, we've had it at the World Series Pro Mod. I had it at Mark Mickey. I've had. We've had the 53s. The PDRA's had the 53s. I mean, a 50 ain't fast. I'm sorry. I mean, don't know. Let me rephrase that. It is fast, but it's not fast enough to say, hey, you got a perfectly built lightweight car that weighs 2,350 pounds or 2,400 pounds or whatever that number may be, and you're going to go 50 when we have a 2,600 pound car going 353
with overdrive rules and
rules and everything.
Yeah.
And it's sustaining the class to have what? Like I have 31. We have 31 going to Martin. All the other class, if you go look at the Pro Mod class, even at IHRA, it was still over 16 cars. Not quite what it should be for the payout, but obviously, but
we've obviously seen that payout means
they got to go in the 40s for Pro Extreme to be. I'm sorry, I'm the fastest of the fast. They got to go in the 40s.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm just saying that the resources being devoted to it. Now, you've always had Bubba Stanton, Frankie Taylor, Jason Scruggs, Hank Stubbs, all these guys. They're known outlaw racers. But then you see like Randy Weatherford, yourself. I mean, there's a handful of guys.
Really
Billy Van
Jim Whiteley. Jim Whiteley's got one.
All devoting resources to the outlaw pro mod deal, which I think a lot of it, like you said, are guys that have multiple cars and want to go tow to one place and race in multiple classes. But it honestly surprised me. I really didn't think I would see as many cars and success in the outlaw pro mod deal as we ended up seeing toward the end for IHRA. So maybe there's a little life left in there, more so than we thought.
I have said this in the past that I think that
is another example.
Yeah, I think there may be a place for Pro Extreme, right? Like I think there may be a place for it, but I don't know. What I see are some teams that don't want to run as hard. I mean, because a lot of that is rooted in being able to use this crazy overdrive to offset the need to turn these motors, the RPMs that are required, therefore easier on valve train, easier on parts, just wider tuning window, etc. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I really do, lighter weight cars, easier to manage, like all of these things. I don't know that that's the answer, because we've seen, ADRL had Pro Extreme for years, and we saw it, probably reach its peak. We saw the PDRA carry on that tradition, and we saw car count dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. And it's interesting because a lot of those conversations, when it's in that competitive environment, when you're having to race against Brandon Snyder, people probably don't remember when Brandon was going out and running 349 every time he unloaded that black 69 Camaro. Those guys were flying, but they were putting $600 or $800 blower belts on them after every run, right? They were junking parts. It was starting to smack of Top Fuel. And I do think that we have to kind of, what problem are we trying to solve here? Because we're never going to be able to create something that is just perfect for everyone, right? There's levels to this stuff. And if you can't run, I worry about it, because I do think that we spent an hour talking about it on the show last week. Like a standardized set of rules, we're close to that right now in our sport. Like we're close to that with Pro Mod right now.
Yep.
And this just feels like, okay, we're going to let we're gonna stray away and we're gonna do this again. And but I get it. We're solving a problem right now because there are several racers that need a home. There are guys who've made investments that need a place to go race, and I think that is fantastic. But I do wonder what the ultimate answer is. I mean, maybe it's Donald Long has said this multiple times on the record that RVW was never meant to be a 6 or 8 or 10 time a year deal. It was meant to be a 1, 2, maybe 3 times a year deal. And maybe that's what the answer is that you've got 2 or 3 marquee events throughout the course of a season where a guy can take all the weight out of his car, or the Bubba Stanton or the Jason Scruggs who have a super lightweight car in their stable can come let it all hang out, see who's who. Mark Mickey can go run 230 and Jimmy Taylor can go run 230, and all those things are awesome. But I don't know if it's something that can sustain a 6, 8, 10 race series.
Well, I think we'll know the last 2 races of the year. I mean, I was very adamant at the fact that I will not support the class if it does not support itself. I made it very clear, and I'll say it right here. I will never pay more in Pro Extreme than I pay in Pro Mod. Just plain and simple. Unless you gave me the money to go put it on it, I am never that is our class. That is what we have. I feel like between World Series of Pro Mod, Midwest Drag Racing Series, Yellow Bullet, PDRA, if you really took the rules and you put them together, we're well, even PDRA is off a little. I'm even heavier than PDRA on some of my rules, and a little heavier than World Series, but only because that changed this year. We all followed each other. I followed the Winter Series and everything you did there. I followed those rule sets, and then we watched everything play out. And I watched all these people add all this weight and take away weight and do all this. We just sat in the background and just said we're going to watch it all play out, and we did, and we've seen it. Is there still some room for improvement in legal in Pro Mod? I believe that there's some room that needs to be improved on. But again, I'm that nitrous guy, and I don't bitch about the rules because it is what it is. I choose my power outer. That's my choice. That's not. If I got a screw car, I can go get in that son of a bitch and be a number 1 or whatever. I can go get in that Pro Charger car. I can go get in blue. I mean, I choose nitrous because I love that combo, and I believe it can hang with them. We just got to. I mean, Jim Hosley has proven it over and over again that it can. We just haven't. We haven't done it. And
well, I got to tell you, we talked about something. I want to get your opinion on this because Mike, I just thought about this. If we did away with testing at the World Series of Pro Mod and everybody went out and unloaded in Q1, I bet Jim Halsey would have qualified.
Guarantee you 100%.
If there was 4 runs,
level that playing field a little bit more.
Guarantee.
What do you think about that, Keith? Because we're starting to see testing, at least at our events, like problematic. Because
it is problematic, and that's why we decided that in the Midwest, I don't know if we made this announcement early in the year, we would not be handling any testing at all before the event that we have. You can test the day of qualifying, which is no different. In the morning, so you got a 10 to 3 o'clock, and then we go qualifying at 5 o'clock, right? You can test right there in that. Well, guess what? That ain't a big window. You might get 2 runs in it per class, maybe only 1.
Yeah.
Normally probably 2. And then you go straight into qualifying. No if, ands, or but. I think that people allowed to test 5 days before they ever go to the event on the same track that they're racing at, I think that's problematic. I think that puts everybody that can't get there earlier, doesn't have the funds to just take off work or
a week or 10 days. Yeah.
Their wife is saying, you ain't doing it. I mean, it happens. It's the way of the world. No different than our September race, the double race that we're having. You will not be able to test at that track before the event, period. You're going to test the day. You're going to test on Thursday, and we're going to go racing. And then you can test again on Saturday, and we're going to go racing. That's it. It's 2 events. It's 2 events, and you got to pay to be in both events. You can't just show up for one. I'm sorry, that's not how this double event works. This double event works is you know, you got to enter pro mod for both events. It's still very inexpensive for what the payout is, but and it's a big undertaking. You know that as both you guys know that as running the events that you've ran. It's not. It's people don't realize, and I've said it over and over again. Wes, we talked about it. I've said it over and over again. You got all these people that think they know what the heck's going on, and they think they can run things better than us, and they think why did you do this, or why are you doing that? I said it very clear, and I was very I would call it professional, diplomatic, professional, and 100%. Hey, we're here for racing, we're here for the drag strips, we're here for the racer. Just because a racer doesn't agree with what we're doing for the racetrack, for the racer, they don't see it the same way we see it. They don't get the phone calls that you get and I get at 5 o'clock in the freaking morning when they're ready to get up, or midnight when they're just now going to bed after 5 cocktails and they're pissed off at us. You know, they don't see how the racetrack has to get there early and work all day long during rain and just to get them back on the track. They only see what's in their pit. And there's a whole lot more to it. If the racetracks can't make money, if the racetracks can't have an event that it at least breaks even and brings a lot for maybe the city gives them money or whatever it is. But
or they sell concessions or whatever. Like, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like you
got to, and the reason why we did the double gas prices, diesel prices are high. I'm saving them money by not having to go to 2 separate events. I'm saving them hotel rooms. I'm saving them air flight tickets are almost double what they used to be. I mean, I used to be able to fly to Martin, Michigan for $500. Now it costs me 980. You know, so it's almost double just to fly to one. So think about all the money that we're actually saving by putting 2 events in one place. Gas money, hotel, time off work. I mean,
dude, all of it. Listen,
you're gonna take off Thursday anyway. You're gonna be traveling home Sunday anyway. So what's the difference? You know, there's no difference.
All those
really.
things matter right now a lot. You know, and it's weird because it seems like almost overnight we went from an environment where there was like more races than you could shake a stick at to like now I've got, you know, racers are clamoring for more events. And I think, you know, I want to give you kudos, Keith, just one last time, because I think it's really amazing to see you guys step up the way you have to give a home to these outlaw pro mod guys. I think it's awesome that you've stood by your word and put these events on for 10 years now.
This is a 10th
anniversary season, you know,
and I truly have a lot of gray from 10 years, and you were there from the start.
It's not good on your health, I say that.
I mean,
shit, dude. You remember San Antonio?
9 cars,
9 cars,
10,000. I had to pay the purse, guarantee the purse. Everybody said there's no way he's going to pay the purse, and I pulled cash. I brought cash with me that one. We laid it on the back of Amanda Hoover, Eddie Rogers. Amanda Hoover was tuning it. We laid it on the back of his car. They took a picture of it and said he's still paid.
Yeah, and here we are 10 years later, man.
And a lot of people forgets 2018. You remember Elite 16?
Yeah,
that we had at Texas Motorplex. Proline, Eric Dillard won it in a car that he had just built and just put together and come out and won the event. If you look, we were running 75 overdrive. That was really kind of the first time that we put rule packages together that actually worked. They were smart enough then, but nobody knew. They said, there's no way. I can promise you, I can tell you, there's no way you can run 92 over. There's no way you can run 75 over. There's no way that you can do this and do that and do. Your rules are absolutely outrageous. And you and I talked. I said, wouldn't it be great to have one set of rules? And then next thing you know, here we are today. I mean,
real close to that.
2018 to now. We're what's that? 8 years? Yeah. 8 years later, and we're doing exactly what we said we wanted to do in 2018. And you helped promote that event. Richard Freeman, which is my competitor on the pro stock side, but a friend on the outside. He put money in. Flying A, Motorsport. I could name all the people that put all this money into that 2018 race. And look at us today. I'm just proud of drag racing. it's really it's a bad time, but yet a good time. It's a good time for all the series. I said it, believe and support the ones that have been there since day one.
I
Because
couldn't agree more, man.
without them, you don't have nothing. The
No,
racetrack has to support them. Everybody does.
And there's no doubt that there's, it's a free market, right? Like we're going to see things pop up. There's going to be things come along. I got a flyer this morning where there was going to be another, pro mod race popping up, and, that's part of it, right? But I do think the people that have, we need to be grateful for the opportunities that we do have. I think there's a lot of people right now looking for a home, when it comes to drag racing, and, there are some great ones, and I'm really proud of this group of people. And I think that there's dude, like I said, this fertile soil, brother, fertile soil. We can't wait to see you guys, the stars.
Hey, thank the sponsors.
Yeah,
thank the sponsors. I mean, truthfully, from the M&Ms to the Stroud safeties to the Redline oils, I'm just using. I mean, Redline never sponsored me, but you know what? I still believe in them. I'm glad that they're supporting racing in general. They just support.
Dude.
They do Redline now that supports my racetrack with Todd. But these sponsors, these companies. I mean, I did get off the phone with someone, big company that wants Pro Extreme to succeed and willing to give some money next year. We'll see. Again, everybody talks about it, but whether or not they do it is two different things. But I can't thank the sponsors from Hoosier to I can't even name my Summit. I can't name every one of them, all your sponsors, everyone. Without them, we don't have
the
nothing
Whiteleys, J&A Service, all these people that have poured. Our drag racing would be a shell of itself without all of these incredible brands that have invested in our sport. And I encourage these companies. I know there's a lot of companies out there that kind of sit on the sidelines and feel like they don't have to advertise. If I had $1 for every company that had told me, I don't got to advertise, I don't got to sponsor, maybe you don't, big dog, but you should, because without these events, without these racetracks, these racers don't have places to go. Your consumable parts don't get bought. They don't get used up.
Without the racer or the racetracks or the series or the things, you don't have customers buying parts, buying the things that are keeping your business and giving you a yacht to stay on. I'm sorry.
100%. And hey, I would really like, will you send me over like a freebie contract weekend on that yacht of yours just while we're talking about it? Okay, great. Shoot me an email. Mike and I and JT, we want like, what do you say, boys? 3 days?
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever
as long as I get to go and we get to play golf.
Yeah, it looks like
done. Lock it in.
Out of that thing lately.
And I know JT's going to come flying in here in a minute saying golf. Where's golf?
I'm back.
I'm going back. I told you, see.
Well, hey, Keith, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you all for the support. Thank you.
Thank
you to all the sponsors and the racers and everybody out there. Thank you to Drag Illustrated. Let's just keep pushing it forward and working together as a team. And right now, I feel like series, if they work together, they have some. If they commit to working together, we can drive this boat in the right direction.
I agree, brother. Be safe, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, boys. Hey, guys, I want to take a quick second and remind you all that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oil, formulated to win, proven by you. Since 1979, Redline has been protecting engines from 11,000 horsepower nitro motors to 50cc motorcycles. Ty Tutterow, Steve Torrance, Callie Mills, Spencer Hyde, Scott Palmer, Tommy Franklin, champions and contenders who trust Redline to get it done. Check out their full product lineup at redlineoil.com. When you know, you know. Guys, we've got our final guest of the day. Super excited about this. We always love our little inside baseball conversations that going with a longtime friend of ours here at Drag Illustrated. Let's give it up for Elon Werner.
Hey, Wes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nobody else comes on camera for Elon's intro. Jeez Louise, boys. This is going to take him a while to recover from.
Wes, haters are going to hate.
Woo! There we go. Thank you, JT. Okay. I appreciate it. Okay. I appreciate it, man. Well, Elon, we're fresh off a whale of a weekend for the NHRA at the NHRA Denso Sonoma Nationals. Yeah. I know you were boots on the ground out there. We talked to Jasmine Salinas earlier in the show just about the spectacle that was a 3-day back-to-back sellouts. Can you just riff on that for a moment? Like, yeah, I don't know that it's being really given. I mean, TV ratings are through the roof. Sellouts happening. This is a big deal.
Yeah, you got different people winning. Now, there's the appropriate amount of dominance. You got the Coletta guys kicking ass. but you got Matty Gordon's emergence. And probably the coolest thing about Sonoma was Gary Selsey on the scene. Yeah. He was the NHRA legend. He was so salesy. He's up in the PA booth calling crew chiefs cowards on Friday night from the PA booth. Just his vibe. He's so excited about the sport, and to see a legend excited about the sport, and not just Matty, but Jordan Vandergriff, Austin Prock. We finally got a Jordan Austin match face off, and it goes Jordan's way. Pro stock. The first round of pro stock was like in the press room was electric. It was like just trees are getting chopped down, and then Chris Vang loses, to Mason McGahey, who's glad to see the McGaheys back out there, and
it was chaos. The coolest round of pro stock I've seen in a hot minute.
First round,
and what a change of a huge monumental shift just in kind of the power, the pecking order, like 4 elite cars from the semifinals.
And the semis had never happened before. And it's people don't think about how hard that is. When I was at JFR, we had 4 funny cars. We never got 4 funny cars to the semis.
Really?
And we had Force, Robert, Neff, Courtney, or Ashley involved. I mean, never did it. We got it a couple times. You know who derailed us every time? Effing Jack Beckman. He would be the lone guy. We'd have 3 JFR cars in the semis, and then we'd have the last quarter finals pair, Beckman against somebody. Ashley or Robert or Neff, whoever. He would win, and then it was like Beckman versus 3 JFR cars. Okay, for sure we can kick this guy's ass. He's with DSR at the time. Nope. He wins the semifinals. So now it's just Beckman against last man standing, and he laid waste to JFR. He was the JFR whisperer. And
isn't that crazy?
But Sonoma,
and now he drives
the weather was great. Seeing Greg Stanfield win. Doug Coletta's won there 7 times.
7?
7. That was his 7th win at Sonoma.
Holy moly. I did not realize that he'd won there 7 times.
Yeah. So he went into their Hall of Honor with his 5th win, which people were like, that's great. 9 years ago.
Wow.
So,
dude, these Coletta boys are on a roll.
Yeah, the trajectory of the NHRA right now, I've been involved in the sport for 30 years, could not be, in my estimation, going better. The events celebrating 75 years, bringing the legends back. You've got rising stars across the board. The competition has never really been, I don't feel like, better. And there's an appropriate amount of controversy. You want some sparks there. You want Austin Prock punching the hood of his car after he loses to Jordan. You want teams pushing the envelope on the rules. You want all these things that make a sport like ours, people care.
Exciting. Yeah, we need it. I do. I think you're right. There's like an appropriate amount of drama right now.
Yeah.
I was reading that story on competitionplus.com. Shout out to our buddy Bobby Bennett about the gas pedal device.
Right. I talked
emerged.
to Sean Lang about that, and I thought that was. I remembered Antron saying something a year or so ago about traction control, and I thought that was the same thing. But these are 2 separate issues. Like the pedal thing they're talking about is different.
It's totally removed from the traction control debate. Oh, really? I thought they were the same thing too.
This is 2 separate things.
What was it? Was this a talk in the like? Is this being? Because I was surprised. Bobby got a lot of great quotes. Sean Langdon was in there talking about it. Brian Karate was talking about it. Who else did he quote? Daniel or Tim Wilkerson. Yeah. Is it being talked about?
It's being talked about.
Okay.
But it's just kind of one of those things where it's like it's being talked about how it was handled by the NHRA, how it was, the inception idea by Tony Stewart Racing, and how those things worked together, and then how they were presented and reported and rule book stuff. And it was just kind of one of those things that, I jokingly, you know me, I like to poke the bear.
Yeah.
And every now and then when you do that, you break the skin. And I saw Sean on, I think it was Saturday morning. We were at the Sheraton Petaluma, and I just, couldn't help myself. He was just honestly just trying to enjoy his breakfast, just trying to be regular guy. And I was like, hey, Sean, I go, I get the vibe that NHRA is about 2 rule changes away for making it completely ready for me to get into Top Fuel Dragster and give you and Doug a run for the money.
It's so true.
And he looked at me like, yeah, you're probably not right. You're probably not too wrong. Basically, agreeing that, you can't make the car so easy to drive that anybody can do it.
I stand by it, man.
That's his comment of, if you can't pedal the car, you should be doing something else. It's
100%.
And you're taking away the joy of figuring out how to drive these 12,000 horsepower cars. I mean, Daniel Wilkerson pedaled the car, I think, successfully for the first time. Matty Gordon
in Norwalk.
That is
beat
a
Sean
skill
Langdon.
set that you need to learn to move up the ranks. It's kind of like, NFL players and college players learning the appropriate hip swivel.
Have I ever told you this story? And this is like an interesting story because it's not about Top Fuel, but it's about that skill set. There was a time not too terribly long ago when legendary crew chief Frank the Ace Manzo actually had a private test session at Indianapolis Raceway Park with his driver, Mike Castellana. And he actually put a cone out on the track, like, I don't know, it was like 100 foot out. And it was specifically to train Mike to better pedal the car. And it's like, to me, that just points to people are practicing pedaling the car. Like, that is, like, to your point, Elon, that's a skill that has to be earned over the course of time. And I don't know that we want to see that go away. Now, it does bring to light I felt like reading the tea leaves of that story on Comp Plus was, this seemed to be being presented, and I don't know if this is just politics or kind of saying, spin machine type of stuff, but it seems to be rooted in cost savings. Like, hey, let's not blow as many of these things up. Let's save some money. And we've spent a little bit of time at the beginning of the show today talking about, escalating costs and trying to rein that in. But I also feel like I don't know that we can allow that. Yes, there are there are better ways to do that.
And that's the thing is, it's so hard. I'm impressed. Of course, a genius like Manzo would figure out how to do that, but it's so hard. And you hear drivers talking about, you have to learn how to pedal the car because it is so hard to duplicate without tearing all your shit up.
Yeah.
So you just have to kind of go through it, which to me, that's no different than a NASCAR guy having to learn how to drive through smoke. Or I need to listen to your spotters and all those
trust
things.
them
or
and all that,
all that stuff. Or tennis players, learning how to handle a guy's 110 mile per hour serve or 120, whatever that is. You just can't work your way around the rules of something to me that is so integral to drag race right now, which is pedaling the car. That is true. Tony Stewart talks about all the time. Well, you have all these opportunities in NASCAR. If you make a mistake, you got another lap to come back. But here, if you make a mistake, you're just done. Okay, well, let's not take out the opportunity for a guy to correct a mistake, whether it's a crew chief mistake or it's a driver mistake. This is your chance. This is your chance to get your car back under control and come back at a turn 3 or turn 4. Pedaling is the integral part of driver skill, correcting a mistake for the betterment of your victory. And now you're going to say, we're going to create a system that takes that out of the equation. Well, then what are we effing doing here?
Brother, from your mouth to God's ears. I think it's something that it's a perilous, it's like opening Pandora's box, because the last thing we need to do, I feel like drag racing has arrived at a time when there has never been more pressure on the shoulders of these drivers than there is right now. From the starting line to the finish line, we've seen competition on the starting line as tight as it's ever been across the board in high-level drag racing. And that's what we want. We want the drivers to be the difference makers. And I think anything that flies in the face of that is a step in the wrong direction.
I want to see more bulbs flickering on the starting line. I want to see more top bulbs going out. I want to see more guys. I'm all for sportsmanship.
Same, but
I mean, Jim Head this was Spencer Hyde's run against Dave Richards was a perfect example of just that. It'll all come out in the wash, but Dave Richards ran into some problems, and they had already started Spencer's car, and you know, Jim had waited as long as he could, but when the starter said go,
they
got to
went.
go. And it was just a tough break. You know, the Spencer Massey deal in Norwalk. I mean, Chuck Gross with, you know, someone needs to write folk songs about that guy, but also about Spencer Massey. You know, hey, he waited until he couldn't wait, and then Spencer Massey's a genius. He's like, okay, you're going to make me start. I'll do a longer burnout.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but at a certain point, you have to be, like Matt Smith said, they call it the ready line for a reason.
100%.
You get up there to get ready, and then you got to do your stuff. You know, so to me, it all goes back to, I think these last 3 regular season races are going to be super interesting. I think when we get into the countdown, truly, I am very bullish on this year's countdown being being a breakthrough. People love the countdown because I've seen this Jimmy Prock movie before.
Yeah.
It's called Robert Height 2009.
Yeah.
And he's creeping up on it. And Austin Prock could very easily win the U.S. Nationals or go to the finals of the U.S. Nationals and get his mojo and come into if he gets to 6th, if Austin Prock goes into the countdown in 6th place, he has to be considered a championship contender favorite. Because
I can't argue.
And
I think this is one thing, and I'm backing us up a little bit, but I just want to we get some great comments from Drag Racing Mayhem, but drag racing already has the stereotype among young motorsports fans that all they do is go straight and hold the gas pound, right? And I think there's some truth to that. I hear people tell me that all the time, like, in drag racing, isn't that where you just like smash the gas and drive in a straight line? And it's like that, we've got to dispel that. I was talking about that earlier in the show, that I think we got to level up the pageantry. We've got to make this look hard. Like, we've got to do everything we can to make it look hard and complicated.
One of the greatest things Fox has done lately is the side-by-side pro stock guys in the starting line in car camera. I think, honestly, that's how I would like to watch a pro stock race.
Yeah.
I think it should be that, and then a third screen, like the overhead from the drone. Overhead from the drone, in car with those guys and gals shifting.
Yes, I agree.
Funny car.
And these funny car guys with the freaking steering wheel
Everybody
turned.
gets those caps, glasses, and either you're looking out or we're looking in, and we're watching you, again, drive the car overhead of the funny cars.
I couldn't agree more, man. We have to better sell what we do.
You can see from the overhead, we hear these guys like Galvin and Courtney will talk about, Maddie Gordon was out in front of him until she wasn't. Well, you can't see that from the side, but from overhead, you sure as hell can see it in a pedal job where guys are truly jockeying for position. That's visual gold that just shows what these men and women are doing behind the steering wheel.
It's so important, man. And I think that's like the lesson is we've got to do a little bit better job of showing the challenge that these drivers are facing, because it is not for the faint of heart. It is not something that anybody can do. And it brings me to something of a segue here. I'm going to kind of make this work. But speaking of how hard this is and, the difference between winning and losing and the guys that are good and the guys that are still working their way up, I know you have a new project that was announced today that came out. I'd like to talk about this a little bit. I think that it's safe to say the greatest to ever do it, drag racing's GOAT, undoubtedly John Force, somebody that you had an opportunity to work for many, many years. That's actually how I met you. You were you were by John's side for many a year, saw this thing firsthand and have now dived into telling his story through the lens of people who faced off against him. Riff on this, the new Elon Werner project.
Yeah. So it's tentatively called Racing John Force. And it's basically, I've talked to 50 different drivers and personalities.
50?
About 50.
Wow.
Actually 52. About their experience racing John Force. And it all stems from, I read a book called Facing Ali that was 15 stories about people that fought Muhammad Ali at every level of his career. And I read the book like in 2006. 2013, I had an amazing interaction with Dave Richards at the inaugural New England Nationals, where he and his brother had hauled their funny car up from Florida, just hoping to qualify for the race. and they raced Force the first round.
Yeah.
And so his retelling of the story after the fact of how he approached racing John Force and truly, honestly, not wanting to screw Force up. A couple years later, those two ideas melded to me that Dave Richards experienced racing Force in 2013, 180 degrees different than a guy like Prudhomme or Billy Meyer or Frank Hawley. And then there's the people in the middle, Cruz, Ron Capps, that got like peak Force. Dean Scusa, Whit Bazemore, Casey Spurlock. I talked to all these guys about what was your experience like racing Force for the first time? How did you approach it? And it swings from Jim Dunn basically telling me, when I saw that I was racing John Force, I asked who I had in the second round. Who do we got the next round? Let's go ahead and get the parts ready for the second round. To guys like Alex Laughlin, who only raced Force twice, and said they will tell their grandkids that I drove a funny car one time and I raced the greatest driver ever.
Wow.
And went 1 for 1, has an even record against Force, and has great insight on the win and the loss. Frank Hawley talking about how he and Coyle were talking about what Coyle should do once the Chi-Down Hustler. And Hawley's like, well, you ought to give that guy John Force a call. I talked to Austin Coyle 3 different times about what a terrible driver Force was and how he had to teach him how to drive. And how, ironically, the 2 worst funny car drivers wound up being 2 of the greatest because they got great crew chiefs.
Wow.
Force and Kenny Bernstein. Terrible drivers. And the fact that their first head-to-head race, and I talked to Kenny about this, and this is one thing I didn't know. We've all heard the story about Kenny taking the Chelsea King to St. Louis.
Yep.
To get the Budweiser deal.
Tell the story for people that haven't heard it, because it's worth mentioning.
It was 1979. Kenny is trying to get the Budweiser. He owned Chelsea's Pub, which was a restaurant. It was Chili's before Chili's. Again, just showing what a trendsetter Kenny was. Dallas-based, and he was trying to get a beer sponsorship. New Budweiser, they were kind of involved. So he had been pitching, and he could just never get management to buy into it. So he drove his hauler to St. Louis, parked it outside of the the brewery, and he'd already set up a meeting. Yeah. But he goes into the meeting, and he can literally look out into the parking lot, and he sees all the people leaving their shifts because they're running 24 hours a day at Budweiser. And they're all stunned by his funny car. They can't believe it. And he's with the marketing guy going, see this? There's thousands of these people. So what I found out is the first time Kenny raced Force was the Cajun Nationals 1979 final round. And it was a race that got postponed to a Wednesday night. So Kenny had already scheduled this Budweiser meeting. Cajun Nationals rains out on Sunday. The Budweiser meeting is that Tuesday. So he hauled all his stuff from Baton Rouge to St. Louis on Tuesday, did the display, hauled all his shit back to Baton Rouge on Tuesday night into Wednesday, and then raced Force in the final in 1979. And that was Kenny's first win.
Wow.
And I never had put 2 and 2 together. Kenny's telling me all this stuff that went on. And he's like, yeah, and he goes, and I was able to call Budweiser and say, oh, by the way, I was there yesterday, came back, won my first national event. And that, they'd already agreed that they were going to come to another race. But that got me thinking I talked to Kenny because that race was basically a coin flip for both those guys. 1979. And I don't know if you've ever read, there's this book by Philip Dick called Man in a High Castle. That's a book about what happens if Germany and Japan win World War II.
Yep. And
then there's like the Apple TV show For All Mankind. Yep. What if the Russians get to the moon first? I started thinking after talking to Kenny, what happens if F and Force beats him in that final? It truly could have happened. Neither one of those guys, they were both no driving SOBs that didn't really have, anything going for them. So then I asked Kenny a couple days later before he left for internationals. I was like, hey, Kenny, I wanted to ask you, what do you think? And in true Kenny confidence fashion. He's like, well, I still would have gotten the Budweiser deal.
Yeah, I was still going to get it.
Would John Force's trajectory have been different if he'd have won in his first final? I mean, the thing that came through in me talking to all these people was John's passion, his willingness to do anything, his competition, his mental strength, and his ability to just like switch gears. Like any number of these drivers said, I was in a knife fight in a phone booth with this guy, hated him. I just could not look. And he would drive up on a scooter and be like, hey, man, let's go out there and have some fun. And then
it's
just drive
unbelievable.
off, and they're like, is this guy effing with me? Or is he just that, Del Worsham had the famous line of, if John Force would just focus on driving instead of all the other stuff, he goes, no one else would ever win a funny car race. But
I believe it.
So the book is Racing John Force. It's basically 50 plus stories. I talked to all three of the daughters. I talked to Lori about the first time she went to a drag race with John. I talked to the great Larry Sutton, Bader, John Vandermeer Jr., Graham Light. I mean, Larry Sutton actively tried to get John thrown out of drag racing 4 times because he was so dangerous at Orange County. He went to the NHRA and said, this guy's going to kill somebody or he's going to kill himself. And then they would say, go to John and say, you got to kind of straighten your stuff out. And of course, he went to Australia, all these things. But the stories are, the unique thing is John's story, like his biography and his stories, those are his to tell. This is not a John Force rehash, crash, but it is people's recounting of their experiences racing John at every level of his career. And I have all the audio. I recorded all these. So there'll be the book that's going to come out in 2027. And then there will be some sort of audio companion piece so you can hear the emotion from Cruz Pedregon and Whit Bays. Like I talked to Whit, and Whit was it was like a visceral experience for Whit Bazemore. He was getting angrier and angrier. And he's in Hawaii with his girlfriend and another couple, but he immediately went back to Brainerd 1990 and his battles with John Force.
It's incredible, man. I mean, I'm super excited about this project, and I'm glad we get to share this news because these are the things that we talk about all the time, like richening the drag racing fan experience. And these are the things that our fan base deserves. I'm stoked that there's could be an audio podcast component of all this deal. Love to be involved in that, to be honest. And no, I'm super excited, man. I think it's long overdue, dude.
Yeah,
and what do you make of? I'm curious, like just to kind of bookend this conversation. As we wind down the show today, life post Force. I mean, seeing John Force at the races this weekend and seeing him in the winner circle with Jordan, and Brittany was obviously there and kind of did the team pump up speech early in the week. I do feel like the sport may never feel quite the same, but it also feels like he's kind of it's in good hands. I mean, what's your kind of take on what this is going to look like moving forward?
So excited. And honestly, the reason that I dropped the news about the book today, the book is done. It's being edited. I'm talking to a publisher. It's going to happen, but I was hoping to have more out there, but they did a sponsor summit in Sonoma, and, I'm talking to various people about the year of Force, and I think that's going to be great. And the book kind of came up in a public forum. So I was like, there's a lot going on, and I want to, there's going to be videos, pieces, and TV shows, and it's like, but I wanted to plant my flag in this idea because I think it's so cool, and honestly, it's in the red zone, and I just did it, So that's kind of my impetus for like, hey, this deal's going to happen, so it can be part of the year of Force, and it can be, there's video elements, there's other podcasts, the JFR's doing stuff, Peak's doing stuff. NHRA is doing stuff, and I'm excited to see how that all comes together. Force should be celebrated. Force should have the opportunity to go to every track and truly have fans, sponsors, his competitors tell them how much he means to them. And then however he wants to live his life after that, I say enjoy the grandkids, come to, whatever races are convenient for you, be around. We've been actively trying to get Eddie Hill to come to the Texas Motorplex to be one of our legends. And I'll be honest, like, we've had drivers that know him personally reach out, and he's just rebuffed us. He's rebuffed NHRA for years. And we just finally were like, has someone pissed you off? Do you feel like you've been wronged? And he's like, no. We finally he's almost 90. He's like, no one, I'm totally cool. I loved my NHRA career. I love the Motorplex. I love Billy. He goes, I'm just done with drag racing. I've just moved on to other things. And, I have a lot of respect for that. Kenny was able to do that. Prudhomme, to a certain extent, said, I'm not going to spend any more of my own money.
Yeah.
I'm going to go enjoy my, and he has. He's out there dune buggy racing. He's riding his motorcycle. He's hanging out with Chip Ganassi.
Commenting on our Facebook videos.
Commenting on your Facebook videos. Shout out to Wes Buck. I mean, what? Okay. First of all, I think it's so amazing that Prudhomme was on Facebook. Again, just sadly reinforcing that it's only old people. No offense, Snake, but you are 80. But the fact that he's reading, consuming, and then kind of like, yeah, man, this Wes Buck guy's onto something. I mean, like,
it was so funny.
I still get giddy when I get text from Snake. Like, he'll just sometimes call me, and like Abby gives me grief because my voice changes, and I get all. And I was like, if you would have told 10-year-old Elon that Don the Snake Prudhomme was just going to call him to shoot the shit, 10-year-old Elon would crazy talk. And I tell her, I go, this is like in 10 years, if all of a sudden someone from Taylor Swift's camp reaches out to you and says, Abby, Taylor needs some help with some PR stuff. Could you help her out? She wants to go do blah, blah, blah. I promise you, every time you talk to Taylor Swift, your voice would change a little.
It's just
the nature of the deal.
Yeah.
So I want Force to be celebrated in the year of Force, and then just decide what he wants to do. He's got a great group of drivers. He can come to races. He can do autographs. He can, just be as involved, run the business.
Yeah.
And just, enjoy his grandkids. And, but the thing is, he is drag racing. Was going to enjoy the grandkids, but he's got to do it at the track. I mean, if he retired, I had a conversation with someone I respect greatly, and we were both lamenting the fact that Force didn't retire sooner. But neither one, we both thought, well, that would have been great if Force would have retired after 2013. 16th championship, pops the shoots on an amazing career. Where would we be? I got to be honest. I don't know that he's alive now. I think that just sheer boredom, and he would have just been bored. And you got to have a reason to get up. And his reason is drag racing, building the machine. Now he's got a machine that he can give tips to Alexis DeJoria. He can give tips to Josh Hart. He can give tips to Jordan Vandergriff. I mean, I spent 2 hours with him signing 1,000 Round Win Club cards, and it was the greatest 2 hours I've had with him in a long time. We talked about all kinds of stuff. Anybody, you got to catch him at the right moment. He has definitely been impacted by the traumatic brain injuries, but don't, and I had to tell myself this, don't not talk to the guy because you're worried about how he feels. I don't know how he feels. Say hello to him, ask him for an autograph, choose your, be aware, situationally aware. But I was finding myself not engaging him because I was like, I don't want to bother.
Right.
But now, I mean, if he's just kind of standing around, hey man, how's it going? What's going on? Cody, the PA announcer from Sonoma, had a 1977 entry list from the Winter Nationals. The first time Force was on an entry list, printed out. It was like a printout folder kind of deal. And he was like, hey, can you take me over here? I want to show this to Force. And he showed it to Force and Brittany, and Force like completely got engaged in it. Because you could go and just see John Force, Brute Force Funny Car, Bell Gardens, California. He's just on the list. First time he's ever been on 1977 Winter Nationals.
Wow.
And then Cody gave it to Force, which I thought was really cool.
That is cool, man. like I said, I've often had those same thoughts. Like, but I think these guys, like, they just as soon go out on their shield in many ways. And
100%.
I don't know that John would have had it any other way. I think that he was going to drive until it was taken from him regardless.
Yeah.
But just the fact that we've had him, we've been so blessed to have this guy be a part of our sport, and it will be different. I think that for the casual fan base and for the just regular human being, like, John Force is drag racing.
Yeah. And you build a time machine though, and go back to the 70s, people would be like, how is drag racing going to survive without Snake and Mongoose?
True.
How is drag racing going to survive without Shirley? How is it going to survive without,
Lee Shepherd,
rivalry,
right?
So every sport kind of finds its next thing. However, Force will not be replaced. It will be different. It'll still be good, but the dominance, the charisma, the personality, and just honestly, the sheer stupidity of just pouring every ounce of yourself into a single. I mean, it's one thing to kind of, hey, I'm going to cure cancer. Hey, I'm going to land a rocket on the moon. Hey, I'm going to, try to end world hunger. No, this guy poured all his energy into drag racing, and everyone should wake up and thank Jesus and John Force for what we are doing today.
I couldn't agree more, Elon. I'm super excited about this project. I hope you keep us surprised as this thing gets further along. I know we're close to the goal line, and I'm excited to see you get across it, man. Thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon.
Oh, for
we
sure.
surely appreciate it. If there's anything we can do, let me know, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon. We got a lot of stuff coming up.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Elon. Appreciate it.
Also, Keith Haney, the best. Dude, that dude, I could listen to him talk. Because, again, like Force, the passion oozes out of that guy. And
there's no doubt.
What he's doing is just phenomenal. And just like listening to you guys talk about how Pro Mod is kind of coming to where, I remember you and I had these conversations over 10 years ago about all these factions and this, and can we ever get them into one box? You guys.
We're about there, big dog.
You're about there. And it's really... It's very cool. And, just seeing the World Series of Pro Mod, like I tell people all the time, I go, there need to be more events like the World Series of Pro Mod where I can look in the staging lanes in the semifinals and see Murder Nova about to race Aaron Stanfield.
Yeah.
Because there's not two more different people in every aspect of their whole thing, their look, their vibe, their backgrounds, the cars they're racing, the whole thing. That to me was like the highlight of my experience at World Series of Pro Mod.
Yours and mine both, dude. Those moments where I get to see Antron Brown racing Erica Enders, or Erica Enders racing Lyle Barnett, or
the
Mark
Carolina
Mickey,
Kid and Erica Enders racing. You're just like, when would that ever happen?
It doesn't, and I think that's the magic of this.
Yeah,
of this
for
thing,
sure
man.
it is.
Well, we appreciate you, brother. I
Thank you,
I can't wait for what's next. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it.
Guys, I want to thank all of you for joining us. Hell of a show today. Huge shout out to all of our guests, Jasmine Salinas, Keith Haney, and Elon Werner. Huge shout out to my team here at Drag Illustrated, Mike and JT, Blake Fontenelle on the ones and twos. We appreciate you guys. Thank you guys each week for tuning in. It means the world to us. We'll be back next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see you here.